Nobody cares. Nobody cares. What? Hallelujah. Normally I've had 4 pairs of shoes, 4 this, 4 that. What a revelation.
Tell me, who is Maxine Laceby?
A very compassionate, a bit crazy, full steam ahead woman that loves to empower people whenever she meets them.
Let's bring almost your entrepreneurial journey to test and learn.
The whole being when I led to Absolute Collagen was me doing this fine art degree and stripping myself bare of makeup and letting my hair go grey and wearing really dowdy clothes and no makeup for 4 months. And that whole project of just wanting to be Maxine. So I have worked quite hard on it, I guess.
Been looking forward to this?
I'm really excited. Yeah, I'm good, very good.
Tell me, who is Maxine Laceby?
Maxine Laceby is a very compassionate, very considered, a bit crazy, full steam ahead woman that loves to empower people whenever she meets them and actually sees the best in people. I have this, I don't know if it's good or bad, I have this kind of thing where I always get the best in, I see the best in people, I don't see the negative, and I sometimes wonder if that's a good or bad thing.
Well, I think it's a good way to start. I think what it probably means, and I can relate to this, is that you might be taken advantage of, and it's how quick you work out that perhaps the good you saw, you then got to pull back. But it's probably served us both well, right? And it certainly served you well as someone that takes life to the maximum. I've
been told over the years I've got a really high EQ. Weekend just gone, I spent the weekend with a shaman, right? And she said to me after the 3 days, I'd love to do an EQ test with you. Your EQ is so high. And I said, I'm so glad you said that, because sometimes you think, is that the story I've told myself? And people will say to me, you've got high EQ. And I think, is that because I've told them that? But I have an extraordinary EQ. And that's come, we'll touch on my misplaced childhood, all the rest of it. But it served me well. And I can normally spot people. I can just feel. And I've learned over, especially in business, to tune into it. And I think you've got it. I think we've all got it. You've just got to learn to listen and feel it.
That's where I've been guilty. I've felt, and I'm going to call it a vibration. Like we vibe off each other, right? And that's a relationship I really am enjoying growing with you. You know, we filmed on ADHD Beyond the Label, learned so much from you about that. Kind of ADHD journey, if you like, and the fact that you wouldn't be the founder of Absolute Collagen without it, and so much of that relayed to me where I'm like, actually, I wouldn't be doing all the things I'm doing without. But that vibration element that relates to people being our currency. There are times when I've felt something in my gut, I felt something where the EQ is talking to me, and I've not listened. Yeah, I might have been distracted or not wanted to believe it and give the benefit of the doubt.
But you've got to do that in order to know when you're right and wrong. Because if you don't ever go down the route of being wrong, you'll never have a guide to guide it against. So sometimes you've got to get it wrong.
It's really true. And isn't that the whole almost philosophy of life? And let's bring almost your entrepreneurial journey to test and learn. I mean, test and learn, Absolute Collagen around your kitchen table.
Yeah.
Talk me through that, because I know that a story you've told before, if you like, but that whole element of like relentless drive where a lot of people would have given up. A lot of people would have. And just to be clear, and in watching, listening, this is what led to you founding with your daughter, Absolute Collagen. But you know, you needed to be persistent. You needed to be relentless through that journey.
And I can be both those things, big time, much to a lot of people's dismay, actually, especially my children. And actually, sometimes I exhaust myself, because once I'm like a dog with a bone. If I feel something, if I see something, if I'm very solution focused, I'm extremely practical, which a lot of people who know me might find that really bizarre, but I am. And I think it comes from that. And it comes from, and I'm also creative, so I have a vision. So there's that practicality and that visionary in one, actually, which is probably quite unusual. So I came across the collagen in my kitchen. Well, it was boiling bone broth in my kitchen. And then I was like, what is it in that bone broth? Now, bear in mind, 10 years ago, collagen wasn't a thing. There was skin supplements, but not just collagen. And I just would not let go. And I even remember the formulator telling me it was a stupid formula and it wouldn't be able to be formulated 2 weeks later, and I went, you're right. You're absolutely right. But there's 2 things I do in my kitchen that gets around what you're thinking won't work. And I'm not going to say what that is. And he phoned me back 2 weeks later and said, oh my God, like this is incredible. But sometimes I think you can have too much knowledge. So he had 25 years experience, and his knowledge was so practical, so scientific. He was unable to look outside the box. And I think that's what I've been able to do. Yeah.
A mixture of naivety.
Because,
100%. But also, like, why not try it?
Yeah.
Which sums you up, right?
Yeah.
Why not have a go?
Yeah.
Why not try and look where that's got you? And from sort of coming up with a formula that works, to then branding, to then being so successful, it's just in context of breaking that down, that relentless drive sits at the heart of it, right? You've never pulled back. You've never seemed to have, I don't say doubted yourself, but you know what I mean? It feels like there's been a constant drive.
Do you know, I get asked this question a lot. People say, as a woman, as an older female, you know, did you come across people that didn't believe in you? I never even saw it. I never even saw it. I just went for it. And I guess for me, there was that, because I'd launched a formula that I created in my kitchen into a market that didn't exist, I expected people not to believe in it, so I didn't even see it. Does that kind of make sense?
It does.
And I just knew it worked. My point of reference is it works on me and my friends. I know it works. And that whole wanting to empower women through my product was just such a big drive for me.
So I find that fascinating, because you know I've got 2 teenage daughters. And I, in any way possible, want to talk to someone like yourself that I can champion in female entrepreneurship, where there's less than 2% of VC funding year on year.
Yeah.
And there is an element of, I use that terminology, backing yourself. There is, what I've found out, rather than it being an archaic, broken, chauvinistic kind of system, it's actually often women that don't back themselves, don't quite have the confidence. It feels like that whole conviction and confidence that you had, where this works and I'm going to do it, actually not disproves that, but there's an element that how many times has a woman in entrepreneurship been dissuaded by the formula guy, or been dissuaded through lack of role models, if you like. And so that's probably where I'm going with this. I see you as such a role model, Maxine. Someone that other women can look at and go, if you have purpose and you believe in what you're doing, you can absolutely achieve.
I think so. And I think with me, there is that thing that works for me a lot and then doesn't work for me, self-sufficient. I am so self-sufficient to my own detriment. And I wonder sometimes when you say, and it is true that less, 2% goes to female founders. Female founders that I know tend to be self-sufficient. Going for investment was never an option for me. I didn't even consider it, because I didn't want to rely on somebody else. I didn't want to have to answer anyone's questions. I wanted to be just Maxine, and there was an element of wanting to be me, and there was an element of, I don't have to explain myself to somebody at board meetings, and I just want to do it. And so the self-sufficiency, that is what I see in women. And I think that's why a lot of women do not go for funding. Of course, you've got the element where they don't get funding. And I think there's that age-old, that saying, isn't there? A guy will see a job, I can do 80% of that job. A woman will say 20% of that job I can't do, and she will just look at the 20%. I've always backed myself. And I think I had to as a small child. There was nobody else. And maybe sometimes it is kind of dangerous as well, because I've backed myself so much. And I suppose nowadays, as I've got older, that backing myself is, I consider the consequences of my actions, where I never used to in my 20s and 30s and possibly early 40s. But now I think through, what are the consequences of that action? And if there's a consequence I'm prepared to take, I will take it. But when I go, and even actually when I go back to the start of Absolute Collagen, I remortgaged my house, I sold my motorbike, I sold jewellery, I sold so many things I borrowed money from a friend, obviously paid her back. There was a belief. But the consequence there with borrowing the money from the friend, I knew I could raise more money in my house if I needed to. So I knew there was a solution if it all failed.
It's also like, for me listening to that, you're all in. You sort of, so where some people will take funding from particularly VC, it's quite a transactional, non-emotional. Taking money off a friend absolutely actually has got more of that.
And I wouldn't have done it if I knew I couldn't pay her back. If anything went wrong, there's absolutely no way I would have done it.
And I think anyone listening and watching this, particularly from a Bloomberg TV point of view, which is heavily a sort of investor-focused audience, if you like, that's the kind of founder you want to back, right? Yeah. If anything, you probably could have got
and
funding
I did
very easily.
I
wanted to cover that because that self-sufficient side of you, which actually I can relate to in a certain amount. I'm not very good at asking for help, and that's something I'm working on. But certainly, also a number of the things that I've got involved in personally, I've not brought funding into, if you like, until I absolutely needed to. So what changed? And what I mean by that is that mindset shift where I want to try and control this on my own. I want to be steering my own ship, but then to scale and so on. How did you sort of evolve into that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I was never about wanting to control it on my own. That was never what it was about. So I think one of my biggest strengths is knowing what I'm not good at, and I'm okay with that. Someone said to me, is it imposter syndrome? I went, no, loads of things, and I'm okay with that, right? I can't be great at everything, but I'm really, really good at knowing what I'm not good at, reading people, getting people, my EQ, and knowing what the business need is. So right on day one with Absolute Collagen, so I sort of spent about a year and a half speaking to scientists, all the rest of it. Darcy, my daughter, came in, and Darcy's my co-founder. We have a really wonderful, unusual relationship where it is really equal. We both empower one another. We all step forward when we need to and step back when we don't. And I relied on her. I wasn't good at ordering ingredients, so she did all that. She was studying food science. We worked out it was a protein called collagen. And, I wouldn't have been able to do that without her, and all those sorts of things, really. And day one, when I pressed start, when I thought, okay, this is really serious now. I'm still self-funding, but I need somebody to build the website. I can't do that. But I'd met a guy called Brad, who I knew was a really good man, a really good person. He's still a shareholder. I'm still absolutely very, very good friends with Brad. He will text me at least once a month saying, thank you for creating this crazy product. We had a really good relationship. What I loved about Brad, and if I talk about that as well, is I would ask Brad the same question time and time again, right? Because that's me. I will not stop until I understand. He would answer it like it was the first time he answered it.
That's a skill.
That is a skill. And so that was one. Then there was obviously Darcy's we always say Absolute Collagen is an emotional brand backed by science. Guess who's the emotion, right? Darcy's the science. So she brought the science and the credibility. I'm the visionary. And I think when you are a visionary, I see a lot of founders that won't let go, actually. And I think it stops their growth. I think you have to. And when I went for funding, it was about, it sounds really arrogant, we did not need the money. Absolute Collagen was a cash-rich business with direct consumer. We were doing incredibly well, market leader, all the rest of it. I wanted really great people around the table that Darcy could learn from, Brad could learn, it wasn't just about me. It was about heart, yes, and respect for them. And so I wanted great people around the table. So that was why I brought investment in.
I can just imagine how much these people in that tribe must enjoy working with you and Darcy, and how well you've all done as well. There's so much of you that I learn from and have the pleasure of your company, including, of course, this conversation right now, that is almost like a mentoring element. How much of what you do now is spent helping kind of the next generation? And I guess in any way, kind of what advice can you give to someone that's coming through? Because you've got the Maxine experience before you became a founder, which all goes into that mixing pot of it and building the EQ. Then you've got the journey. So it gives you that sort of maturity and perspective to look in. And of course, the changes that have come through. You lived through the direct to consumer marketing and so on, which was not a thing.
No.
But you've actually done really well with that as Absolute Collagen.
Subscription wasn't a thing. God, how many subscriptions have you got now? I got loads. And that is going to change as well. Subscription's about to fall off because there's so many people that aren't doing it right. They're not treating the consumer right. And so people are getting fed up. So it's going to affect every subscription.
Yeah, interesting.
So you've got to look at that. But I think anybody coming into business, what I will say is, if you've got an idea and you really believe in it, talk to people about it. I talk to people. It doesn't mean I'm really do what they say, but I'm gathering bits of information. I will always make my own mind up, but you need that feeling from a different mix of people. What do they think about it? Most of the female founders I know have started businesses because it's a service or a product that they needed. And that was the case with me. I also think you can spend a long time standing on the edge, wondering, what if?
Procrastinating.
Absolutely. And I've done that. I had a business idea back in when the girls were 9 and 11, took them to China. Bloody hell. Come on, we're going to China, find a manufacturer. I thought about that business so much that I lost it. I didn't launch it in time. But that's fine because I learned some things. I learned about trademarks. I learned about all of those things. And I would say, don't be scared. If you look at trademarks, that could really blow your head. Phone the trademark, the intellectual property office up. They are brilliant. I used to speak to them on a daily basis. And I think it's just about asking questions. And nobody wakes up and knows everything, right? You have to find your way. And I always say business shouldn't be difficult. It's damn hard work. Most things you need are signposted. And you just got to keep asking and then find your way. And I think it's about, you can spend so much time standing on the edge wondering what if. Would you want to die thinking what if and never taking that step?
I love what you're saying, and it parallels even why we're sat here. You know, there was things I've procrastinated on and talked myself out of.
But you probably learnt from them as well.
And I've learnt the feeling, which there's quotes on about the no regrets, and you know, and you know, you don't want to get to a certain age and then wish you'd done something. And that thought very much probably it sort of meant I literally learnt this on the job. You know, I had no previous experience at all from broadcasting or TV presenting. Absolutely, but I think being prepared to make them in real time.
100%.
You know, and I think those mistakes that some people would even call failures are all part of what becomes
missteps.
Yes.
No such thing as failure. You say about empowering, the people say to me, how have you created these two brilliant children? You know, I believed in them, because you have to believe. You cannot micromanage. You have to believe. You have to empower. And how you do that is you allow them to make mistakes. They have to feel pain. If they don't feel pain, if they don't get burnt, they'll do it again. Even with business, you know, Darcy's my co-founder, as you know, and I allow her, because we're equal, it's not a case of allowing her. She has to feel something that's wrong. I've got to allow her to go into that. Because if I protect the business or protect her, if there's certain things that happen that I will allow her to, or I have. I mean, she's probably far superior to me in business now. When we go back at the beginning, there was a certain thing and I was like, I don't think we should do that. And she really wanted to do it. I went, right, carry on. It was wrong. I know she'd learnt so much from that. But I was able to go, this is not going to ruin the business. And actually, I might be wrong. My feeling is I'm right, but I might be wrong. You know, sometimes I think in any form, in any area in life, you can come against a junction. You can get so paralysed by which direction should I take. And sometimes you just got to, sometimes it doesn't matter. You know, either each direction will be right and you'll figure it out, which we did. But she learned from that, and I learned from that.
It's growth, right?
Yeah.
And we can talk about that from a personal point of view. We can talk about it from a business point of view. So the decisions and the trajectory that you guys went on to then hit the wall or hit the brakes, pull back, and you've learned something. You know, and you had the knowledge and the EQ and the IQ, and to actually know you needed to stop, because of course that's the other thing, isn't it? You know, you've got to be able to, I guess, have that goal and that whole sort of alignment, but at the same time try different things, but whether it pulls you off and distracts you.
And so whilst I'm quite gung-ho, I would say not at any cost. So when we were growing really, really fast, and we were growing like 400% a month, and it was just crazy, I used to say to my digital marketeer on a regular basis, can you stop acquiring customers, please? And she'd go, what the hell? Said nobody ever. Because my focus is the Absoluter. She is everything. She's my customer. She is my reason to wake, to sleep, for everything, right? She's the reason Absolute Collagen exists. I never, ever want to let her down. If we are growing that fast and our systems can't cope, something's going to give. And so every now and again, I'd stop, I'd recalibrate, and we'd go again. And that was something I felt really strongly about. Everybody around the table who had business experience thought I was absolutely crazy. But I think this is where the founder comes in, because they know, they feel it and they know. And I say, that's my job now. You know, I've got a CEO now, and my role is I sit with the Absoluter and the team on these shoulders, and every single decision I'm thinking, how does that affect? How does that affect? And I think you can never underestimate the founder's insight into the consumer and the business, ever.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the EQ, which you've led on a couple of times, but that's probably the best articulation, which is that there are clearly key moments and milestones where your gut instinct and your conviction to say, I'm going to keep going, produced ultimately the product, and then actually made some key decision making, but also to parallel that in business to you as Maxine. There's been such a relentless energy and drive right up to today, but along the way you've had to make time for yourself. That entrepreneurial journey is I keep using the word relentless, but there's long hours, even though you've got you know, there's a team of you, if you like, and Darcy's there as an equal partner to vibe off and bounce off. At any one time, you know, there's so much energy going into it. What do you do? What have you done? Yeah, you know where this is going, right? What works for you to try and remove yourself from all the things going on and have some me time?
I am, you know, when you said earlier, who is Maxine? I am actually a very, very simple person. It took me a long time to work that out. I used to think I was so intellectual and so complex, you know, and people that know me people that don't know me that well would say there's no way she's simple. People that know me really well will tell you I am, and I know I am quite simple. So I love being outdoors. It's my thing. I love running, I love walking, I love mountain climbing, I love hiking, I love cycling, I love it all. I've got shorts, a backpack, no makeup. I am happy. I don't care if it's snowing, if
That's
it's
your
raining.
happy place.
That is my happy place. I love the energy of the wind, the rain. There's something so alive about being outside. I can't be outside and sunbathe, and that's quite boring. I have to be outside doing something.
I had a flashback to, you did a podcast with Steve Hewitt on paddleboard.
Yes. Oh my God.
And I thought, what a great concept. What a great idea.
Yeah.
He loves the outdoors as well. He's filmed on here. He's a good
I
friend.
love Steve.
Yes, but I could see in your face that you were loving, you know, you were having a meaningful chat, capturing some cool content.
He says to me, what do you want to do? I went, we're in Birmingham, let's go on the canals and paddleboard. I expect him to turn up as Peaky Blinders, by the way. But yeah, that to me is, and you can be alone, you can be with somebody. And I actually really love silence, believe it or not. I'm really happy with silence. And I did the Cotswold Way last year, and a friend, I did the first 4 or 5 days on my own, which I love doing, by the way. And then my friend joined me, and there was quite a few times when she said, oh, we didn't speak for like 2 hours. I went, really? I didn't even notice. And I don't know if that's because I've got ADHD and my mind's always going. I'm always having conversations, but I'm really comfortable with silence.
It's so interesting. And you learn a bit about me from this conversation because I'm the same. And I think people think I'm moving at such a pace. They see my social, you're everywhere.
Yeah.
What they don't know is I will take myself off to the spa. Or I will go for a walk outside with no phone, and then that's when I put myself back together again. And I'm listening to the birds, and I'm watching the leaves falling. Or my favourite time is summer, just having been in the warmth of sunshine. But I've got to be doing something. I'm not very good at something.
Yeah, no, I'm not either.
But I'm very happy in that environment where I don't actually need to be getting any stimulation from a book or
so satisfying,
yeah,
isn't it?
It is really satisfying. But
really?
I think I've never heard anyone articulate like you did, where I think people think the same of me. Whereas like he needs something that I actually don't.
No, I don't. Did you spend a lot of time outdoors as a child?
Yes.
So
I was encouraged to.
Me too.
Very, very. We were always doing welly walks. You know, I haven't really told anyone this before, but I think going back to how I was brought up, when my grandfather was clearly dying and was in hospital, I went to see him, and I'd been told, I was 17, and I'd been told by my mum that this may be the last time you see him. And I looked out of the window, and it was absolutely pouring with rain. And my granddad used to climb mountains. So this whole layering of being outside was in my genes, if you like. And I turned around to my grandfather and said, oh, well, it's an absolutely miserable day, awful day. And he slowly turned and looked at me and said, I'd do anything to be out there.
Yeah.
And I went out for a bike ride that afternoon.
Gosh, I love that.
With all the rain lashing down. And it was a kind of, I brought the kids up like that. They'd say it's raining, what are we going to do? We're going for a walk. we're going to play, you know.
I love that, and it's really interesting. I was in Bournemouth the weekend with the shaman, and I went for a running in the morning. I ran over to Paul along the front, and it was really windy and really raining. I was running into it, and I loved it. I didn't realise how much I loved it, so I turned round and ran back, and it was really easy, and I was like, oh, isn't that weird?
I've done it the other way.
Yeah.
I've done it the other way where you're running, this feels easy.
And then
you turn around and you're like, I wish I hadn't come so far.
Yeah, I'm glad I did the way I did.
I've done that on paddleboards before.
Yeah. Oh,
gosh. Yeah, that's like, you know, I've actually had to get down on my knees to stop the sort of surface area and get back in a strong wind and tide. But I get the point you're making.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, I haven't heard anyone articulate that as well. And I think moving on to one other thing, anyone could describe, and I will describe you as successful.
Thank you.
And I just feel that that's almost become a byproduct of what what you've ultimately done. I don't feel like being successful in true sense of, you know, you're very, very sort of highly awarded, if you like, and people will talk about you in that echelon of, oh, Maxine's such a great businesswoman and look what she's done. And I wonder how much that actually means to you and what your definition of success is sitting here now.
Oh my God, my definition of success is just to be able to be, you know, to be able to breathe. Okay, there is a financial reward. I'd no longer wake up in 4 in the morning and go, what am I going to do today? Because there is that when you start a business and you've invested so much, right? I don't know. Success to me is just this. It's just doing. It's out walking. It's how I live my life. It's been able to meet wonderful people. It's giving back. It's empowering others. It's turning up as that woman that was never there for me. There was some women there for me, by the way, but there were some women that were really not there for me. And it's just showing there's a different way, because we were always told as kids, you know, if you want to be successful in business, you need this, I haven't got a degree, I haven't got no business experience, I didn't work. You know, I worked till I was 25 and then gave up and had children. I didn't start Absolute Collagen until 49. So it's success to me is just whatever life brings. I don't question it that much.
I can feel that. And actually, probably similar question, but in context of, often we can describe life as a journey. And then there might be a destination that some people, a goal that people really want to achieve. And I don't necessarily, I wanted to ask you that. Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's an actual milestone.
No.
You are just really enjoying and embracing the journey.
Everything about it, whatever that brings, the good, bad, the ugly, and just going with it. And being present is really important to me. It's something I've really learned to be. And it hasn't been a conscious, it's just happened. And I'm now really good at being present. And I'm like, where did that come from? God, that is just such a gift. Like even now, I'm completely present. And I don't think I could have done that 10 years ago.
I can feel that.
Yeah.
And you've got my absolute full attention now as well. Is there an ADHD conversation here, which is that a younger version of you and me would have been overthinking everything? How do I look?
Yeah.
You know, what have I got to do this afternoon? Oh no, I need to bring it back to this. Oh, I forgot to do this.
Yeah.
And somehow we've calmed that down, because I'm 48, so there's a maturity to both of us where a younger version is, I was spinning so many things, overthinking everything, but actually it may be quite hopefully inspiring to anyone watching this, that I've somehow calmed that down.
It's interesting because there's a few conversations we've had and it's been spinning and I've gone to take it back there and I've let it go. That's a new thing. That's something I've learned to do, and I don't know how that happened. And maybe it's whoever you're with at the time, because I do think that, you know, I think I talk about energy. I think if the energy is good between you both, it's just a different vibe. And so there has been times and I've thought, my old self would have definitely brought that back. But there's a comfort. There's a let it go. Like, move on. The conversation's moved on from that. Whereas I would normally have taken it back because that's my bloody ADHD.
I'm just listening to, if you think about the previous part of our conversation, that test and learn, that try something and fail.
Yeah.
That's probably where both of us have allowed ourselves to not be the person that's going to have no regrets because you didn't try and then not try different things and then not experience that. And actually then the world didn't end. Yeah. You know, I survived and so on. And actually then, exactly. Yeah.
No one cares. Do you know what? Went to Ruby Wax's with you for dinner recently, and that day I came up, I was working at SmartWorks which I love doing for the day, doing some voluntary work. Then I was coming to Ruby's, and the next day I was doing something else. And I remember packing in the morning thinking, oh, do you know what? I just don't want to pack loads. I just want my backpack. And I was so sorry about this, guys. I just put a load of clean knickers and underwear in and wore the same denim jumpsuit, right? Do you know what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. What? Hallelujah. Normally I've had 4 pairs of shoes, 4 this, 4 that. What a revelation.
Do you know, it's so funny. So for filming day, I have brought probably 4 or 5 different versions of what I could wear. I'm only going to wear one today. Yeah. I'm still learning, and then before I came into London, because I come in for like 3 days, so I have to pack for everything. Yeah. I bring far too much stuff.
Yeah, I've learned too.
But I'm slightly behind you on that. But that's inspiration for me, because I'm just going to remind myself, for the last few days, I've not worn 70% of what I brought, and I carry it.
I know.
I've got a great big rucksack and a suit bag. Yeah. And I'm like, right, work out before you leave and just own it.
And there is that, like, no one's looking. Everyone's so wrapped up in what they're wearing, what they're saying, what they're doing.
But this is where, and in no way, because I think most people can relate to that, but I think that whole RSD that goes with neurodivergent thinking is like that whole not wanting to, wanting to fit in, wanting to have options, and actually just being a lot more kind of, right, I'm going to own this.
RSD, that's rejection sensitivity disorder. Now, this is really, really interesting. So I spoke to Natasha, about this, and I was chatting to her because I did a chapter in the book for
Unstoppable Design.
Unstoppable, and I'm doing some work with on my ADHD, and I was, I don't think I've got that, and we were discussing it. Do you know who I rejected the most? Maxine. How? It was a real thump. I'd rejected myself for so long, and that's, people don't see that now, but the whole being when I led to Absolute Collagen was me doing this, going to do a fine art degree and stripping myself bare of makeup and letting my hair go grey and wearing really dowdy clothes and no makeup for 4 months, and that whole project of just wanting to be Maxine. So I have worked quite hard on it, I guess.
Sure.
But the person I rejected the most was Maxine. And I was like, whoa. But
then that self-awareness to be fully present and to be authentic. I mean, that's why I enjoy your company so much, because I'm craving authenticity. You want to be around people that haven't got masks up, haven't got a facade, haven't got an agenda. And then you learn from that, because if you're learning from a facade or a mask, it's not genuine, right? No. And so this is a conversation that I so look forward to. I don't want it to end, but we've run out of time. But this was something that, you know, I wanted to happen sooner rather than later. So I'm so glad we made it happen today, Max. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Do you know, I've loved it. I mean, I always say, I'm talking about myself, for God's sake. Of course I'm going to love it. I mean, this is really bad of me to say that, but I am, right? But, you know, you've always made me feel really comfortable. And there's certain people you meet in life that just get it. You just get each other, and you are one of those.
Oh, thank you for saying that. And it's ditto to you.
Thank you for having me.